is entirely different from integration. Seeing the fragmentations which bring about conflict, which bring about division, which bring about this constant battle, anxiety, strain, heart failure. You follow, sir? That's what's happening. To see it, to perceive it, and that very perception brings an action which is totally different from the action of conflict. Because the action of conflict has its own energy, brings its own energy, which is divisive, which is destructive, violent. But the energy of perception and acting is entirely different. And that energy is the energy of creation. Anything that is created cannot be in conflict. An artist who is in conflict with his colors, he is not a creative human being. He may have perfect craft, perfect technique, a gift for painting, but that's...
It interests me very much that you've used the word energy here in relation to both activities.
Both, yes.
And you haven't said that the energy at root is different.
No, no.
The phenomenon is different.
Yes.
It would appear that when one makes success, prosperity, victory, the object of his activity, and engages this conflict, which he interprets as engaging him, he always tends to think that things are coming at me. When he undertakes this, if I've understood you correctly, energy is released, but it's released in fragmentary patterns.
The other way, yes.
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 Whereas the energy that's released with perception,
Is
the same
whole.
energy, is always
Yes, sir. That's
whole.
right. Whole.
Isn't that what you're...
That's right. Therefore sane, therefore healthy, therefore holy, H-O-L-Y.
Yes. I have the feeling that this release of energy, which shatters out into patterns of energy as fragmentation, is really what we mean by the word demonic.
Demonic, that's right.
That's giving it a hard name.
But it's a good name.
But
It's an
you're really
excellent-
saying this, aren't you?
That's
Well,
right.
I'm saying this.
Yeah, but I totally see that with you. I see it is demonic. It is the very destructive thing.
Exactly.
And that's what our society is. Our culture is.
What we've done to that word, I was just demonic. I was just thinking about Socrates, who refers to his daimon, meaning the energy that operates in wholeness.
That's right, sir.
And we have taken that word from the Greek, clear out of the context of the Apology, and turned it upside down, and now it means
The devil.
right. And the same thing happened. The same thing happened with the use of the word the asuras. Originally in the Veda, this was not a reference to the demonic. There was no radical polarization.
No, not quite.
And finally, we end up with the gods and the demons.
Devil. Quite.
Which I take it you're suggesting is nothing other than the sheerest projection of our own demonic behavior,
yes,
which we have generated ourselves.
That's right.
This makes tremendous sense to me. Yes, please go on.
Now, so the way we live is the most impractical, insane way of living.
Yes.
And we want the insane way of living made more practical.
Yes, and there isn't a prayer for it.
But that's what we are demanding all the time. We never say, let's find a way of living which is whole, and therefore healthy, sane, and holy. And through perceiving, acting, is the release of total energy, which is non-fragmentary, which isn't the artist, the businessman, the politician, the priest, the layman. All that doesn't exist at all. Now, to bring about such a mind, such a way of living, one has to observe what actually is taking place outside and inside. In us, inside and outside. And look at it, not try to change it, not try to transform it, not try to bring about different adjustments. See actually what it is. I mean, I look at a mountain, I can't change it. Even with a bulldozer, I can't change it. But we want to change what we see. The observer is the observed. You understand, sir? Therefore, there is no change in that. Whereas in perception, there is no observer. There is only seeing, and therefore acting.
This holds a mirror up to an earlier conversation we had when you referred to beauty, passion,
yes,
suffering.
Suffering, yes.
And
action, yes.
I remember asking you the question, in order to recover the correct relationship among them, we must begin with the suffering, which, if perceived as it ought to be perceived, generates passion.
That's right.
One doesn't have to work it out. No, it happens. And behold, upon the same instant, beauty breaks out, and love. So the passion in itself is compassion.
Yes.
The calm comes in exactly with the passion.
Passion, that's right.
Yes.
Now, sir, if you
yes.
could, I mean, as a professor or as a teacher or as a parent, point this out. The impracticality of the way we are living, the destructiveness of it, the utter indifference to the earth. You know, we are destroying everything we touch. And to point out a way of living in which there is no conflict. And that seems to me is the function of the highest form of education.
Yes. It has a requirement in it, though, that seems to me very clear. Namely, the teacher himself must be without conflict. This is a very, very different point of departure from what occurs in our general educational structure, particularly in professional educational activities, where one gets a degree in professional education rather than in an academic subject as such. We are taught, for instance, and I'm speaking about this somewhat as an outsider because I don't have a degree in education, but in an academic subject as such. But I've observed in what goes on with my colleagues in education that tremendous emphasis is placed on techniques of teaching.
Of course.
And the question of the individual teacher as having undergone a transformation of the sort that you have been discussing is not a factor of radical concern. What is, of course, in an altruistic sense, a matter of concern is that the teacher have the interests of the students at heart and that sort of thing, which of course is laudable in itself, but it's after the fact. It's after the fact of this first transformation.
So, but you see, that puts a very